What is up, my party people / friends of the interwebs? You are listening to another episode of Perfection Unfolding with me, Cara G. I'm really enjoying that intro every week, so I hope you guys like it. This is the podcast where I've decided that it's basically my digital diary, right? In here, if you're new, welcome. If you've been here, shout out to you. But in this podcast, I basically I talk about the things that are on my mind, the things I'm going through, and also about tools that have helped me self-develop, heal, um, and just live a better, more authentic, holistic life full of love and happiness. And even though times aren't always perfect, these things that I share with you have seriously helped me level up and continue to help me level up. I don't ever share anything with you guys that I don't personally fully believe in or actually use. So I think rest assured that if it works for me, I know it can work for somebody else, and that somebody else could be you. So welcome to Perfection Unfolding. Um, every week, again, if you're new here, I start the episodes off with a gift of gratitude section. So let's get into it. This looks like getting in a comfy position. So if you're able, I want you to get comfy. I want you to sit up nice and tall wherever you are, whether you're in a chair. I'm sitting on my couch right now. I want you to kind of find your sits bones, sit up nice and tall, and if you're able, go ahead and close your eyes for me. And we're going to do a grounding exercise where we take 3 big deep breaths together to ground us in reality, to bring us into the space that we're at, and to let go of all the things that have been bugging us throughout the day, things that maybe irritated us or things that we're worried about. I want you to let that go. Okay? This is time for you. This is time for us. And so, together, I want us to take 3 big deep breaths. Let's start with a nice big inhale. Breathe in. And exhale. And breathe in. Nice big breath. And exhale. Really let your shoulders relax. Let go of the day. And one more breath in. And exhale. Let it all go. I always feel so much better after doing that. And you can open your eyes. And now we're here. Welcome. It's like we're starting all over again. Don't you love that? I love this practice because, as I've said it before in previous episodes, this is a grounding exercise. And by grounding, it's a term that we use to bring us back into the present moment, right? To ground us where our feet are, to be where we're at. A lot of times in our heads, we're all over the place. We're in the past, we're in the present, we're in the future. We're thinking about things that we did that were cringy 11 years ago. Why are we doing that? Is it helpful to remember? No. Unless it was a good memory, then, live there for a little bit. But the present is where life happens. The present is where we can be empowered. It's where we can make choice. And so I try to live there as much as possible, because every time I go in the past or the future, anxiety tends to kind of follow me there. And I'm just like, I don't like this. If there's nothing I can do to change the past or the future, because neither one of them exist, then I think it's most helpful to live in the present. And so that's a philosophy that I've adapted, and maybe you'll take that with you, if that helps. And you can take these breaths at any point in the day. You can take these breaths in the morning, in the afternoon, in between meetings, right? Nobody can take your breath away unless they're physically actively murdering you. Or they're really hot. But those two things don't happen very often, if ever. So I can't remember the last time somebody took my breath away. Well, that's a different topic for a different kind of podcast. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope that you enjoyed your Monday, that you had a nice, restful, rejuvenating weekend. And if you didn't, every day's a new day. Every day is a new motherfreaking day. So if this is your time to be restful and to rejuvenate yourself by listening to this podcast and doing those 3 breaths, and that's all you do, at least you did that for yourself. So let's get into it. So, things I'm grateful for. So with the breaths, I also go over things I'm grateful for. And hopefully with those breaths, you did the same. I'm And also excuse me because I am recording this podcast like a video version for the first time, and I am really distracting myself by looking at myself in the video. I had no idea how distracting it could be to like be able to see yourself. Um, but my gift of gratitude section, let's get into it. So this week I'm grateful for my home. You guys. I'm back in Dallas officially. That's part of my life updates. I told you that at the beginning of the show. And the amount of gratitude I have for being back in my own space, there's nothing to describe it. There are no words. Okay. Life is about experiencing contrast so you can appreciate the things that you already have. And that's exactly what I did over the last 2.5 months. I experienced so much contrast that when I came home and I walked through my front door and I went to sleep in my bed, I feel like I won the lottery. And maybe that's dramatic, but I don't care because before I went through that experience and like lived in California and like did the whole thing, I complained about my house so much. And now I feel so embarrassed that I did that because it's like, ew, you privileged little brat. You know what I mean? Like, how gross. Like, I would talk about how there wasn't any lighting in here and and like, there were so many renovations that need to be made and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bitch, first world problems. You know what I mean? Like, what are you complaining about? Your life is amazing. But again, you don't know that if you don't experience anything that contrasts that thought. And like, no hate, no shade on like the situation I was in California, but it's not my own condo. I'll tell you that much. So I'm grateful for my home. God bless this place. I am never going to take this place for granted ever again. And if I ever start to, I gotta go experience more contrast. At least now I know that there's like a method to the madness, that I know what to do now. I need to go someplace where I'm incredibly uncomfortable environmentally so that I can come back and appreciate it for what it is. I'm grateful for connecting with people in the wild, right? Today I went out and got my eyebrows threaded because they have been a hot ass mess. Like in terms of grooming practices, outside of showering and, brushing my teeth, like I have not done the things. Like I have not done the things. I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but like I have not shaved my legs. You can guess how many other things I haven't shaved. I haven't plucked my eyebrows. I've done nothing because I've been in the California wilderness. Okay. And so today I got my eyebrows threaded and I made a point to like connect with the eyebrow lady. It was literally just me and her in the room. And I've been doing this thing recently. I've been trying it out because I can be really incredibly um like not off-putting, but like I can be very reserved in public if I want to be. And I normally am because I'm just like I'm doing my thing and I'm gonna go home. And today I just thought like because I have this newfound appreciation of being in Texas, being in Dallas, being in my condo, I was like, you know what? Like moving away doesn't change anything. Like it's up to me to build connections with people. And if my biggest thing in my life is like to build connections, then I have to go out of my way to like make the first move, right? If that's my priority, I have to be the one to connect. And so I was just like, hey, I'm Cara, by the way. But now that you're like touching my face and like you're 2 inches away from my mouth, let me tell you that my name is Cara. And she had a mask on because nobody wants to be breathing in my hot breath. And she told me her name and and then for the first time, this woman has probably threaded my eyebrows 5 times, right? And that doesn't sound like a lot, but like over the course of probably 3 years, she's done this, and she recognized me, and this was the first time that I connected with her. Um, and because I introduced myself, then she introduced herself. Then we started having this conversation. It was beautiful, and I even told her I was like, and I told her exactly what I just told you. Like, moving doesn't change anything. Like, if I learned anything in California, that's what I learned. And it's something I already knew, but you can know something and do something, and they're two totally different things. And I was just telling her, like, it's important to build community, like, with the people you live around. Like, we are neighbors, and I have no idea who you are. And you've touched my face, right? And so she was like, yeah. And then we talked about California, and then I said, I hope you have a good rest of your week. And she said, same. And I left, and it was beautiful. So I am grateful for connecting in the wild. And I'm going to be intentional about that, like, moving forward, especially because spring is springing. Spring has sprung in Texas. Like it's been 85 degrees the last 2 days. I've got the suntan lines on my legs from the park to prove it. And it's my season. Like I literally thaw out and I like come back alive, and I have this energy in me right now that I want to take advantage of like wanting to connect, wanting to speak up, wanting to take up space. The last 3 to 6 months, I haven't wanted to do that. I've been deeply sad, and in a depressive state, like grieving. And I feel like even though the grief is still there and it comes and goes in waves, um, it's like manageable right now. And I feel like I'm getting back to myself slowly but surely. I'm grateful for feel freely expressing myself. So with that conversation, with the threading, no, I don't want to call her the threading lady. That sounds terrible. But with the eyebrow artist, um, I also took a dance class yesterday, and when I tell you I drove 20 hours and I sat for 20 hours and my brain like turned to mush driving from California to Texas, I'm not over exaggerating. Like I've had a headache for 3 days because I'm pretty sure I was like staring at the road just like a zombie. Um, and so the first thing I did was I took a dance class. Shout out Slim with Community Sunday. Hashtag not sponsored, but if you're in the Dallas area, check out the classes. They're a lot of fun. Talk about building community. I like the stuff that he's doing over there. Um, but when I took that class, bro, like I felt like I took all the energy from like that 24 hours of driving that I was just like that was potential energy just building up and building up and building up, and I just like I spit it up all over the class. In like a good way though. There was a girl in class, shout out Hannah. She was like, "Girl, you ate that up. You just ate it up." I said, "Girl, you." I said, "What's for lunch?" And then I said, I said, "What's for lunch, girl? You don't know you ate because it's oh my god, I just butchered my own joke. I'm gonna try again. I said, "Girl, what's for lunch?" And I said, and then she said, "I don't know." I said, "You already ate it." This is really bad joke, but just gives you some insight into the kind of person that I am. Um, Again, grateful for dance. It's been top of my list the last 3 weeks. Like, what can I say? I've it's a renaissance for me. Like, I feel like okay, I feel like I'm in a renaissance of my life. And maybe you feel that way too. And maybe it's because I'm approaching 30. Maybe it's because I'm on my Saturn return and I'm actually doing the things that the universe wants me to do. Because I feel like a lot of Saturn returns are like tumultuous for people. And again, kind of tumultuous for me at this point, considering I just started. It started with a breakup and losing a job. Um, that was super fun. But I feel like I'm in this renaissance with dance and with my personality. Like I feel now kind of like how I felt when I was a kid almost, but like minus the depression. Like just kind of fully coming into form. And a lot of that has to do with just surrendering to my circumstance and with radical acceptance, which we will get into. I'm grateful for, like I said, letting go and surrendering to the universe, for finally figuring out how to embody my fuck it energy. Like a year ago, and I spoke about this on my story this week. Literally this time last year, I came to the conclusion that I was in my fuck it era. Like fuck around and find out, but like in the best way, or like fuck it, I don't care kind of era. I don't care what happens, I'm gonna do what I want era. And a year ago me was onto something, but I didn't know it was gonna take me a year to get here. Like that I was onto something back then, but I didn't really know how to embody that energy. I didn't know how to embody like just letting it go. Just letting it go. And to be honest with you, that's kind of what this whole journey for me over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months has been, is just like letting go. Like, girl, let go. Let the fuck go. Surrender to your circumstance and then do something about it. Don't keep living in this headspace of like how do I hold on as tight as I can so it doesn't go away? How do I fix it? How do I fix it? It's like, bitch, it's broke. Let it be broke. Right? And so I'm finally surrendering. I'm finally in my fucking energy. Um, and God, I'm grateful for that. God bless. God mother freaking bless. And I think it's come from this place of like everything I keep trying to do. I keep like putting my like I'm trying to force it. It just keeps blowing up in my face. So I'm like, okay. I'm a talented person. I'm an intelligent person. I'm loving. I'm caring. I'm disciplined. I'm organized. Like I'm all these things. I'm gonna just follow my intuitive pings. I'm gonna pursue it. I'm gonna take some risks, see what happens because fuck it. Oh, the worst case scenario, I end up back in the mountains somewhere, isolated from the world to figure out my next chapter. I'm not saying that I hit rock bottom, but I'm like, in terms of like, yeah, I mean, but like, in terms of the comparatively to the rest of my life, yeah, like a breakup, a lost job, moving to a place where like you have no one understands you to a degree and like nobody cares to. I feel like when you're just walking around kind of like a ghost, like to me that feels like rock bottom. um yeah, also other things I'm grateful for time alone. God bless. I spent the day in the park yesterday for about an hour just sunbathing, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll read." And then I was like, "No, I don't want to read. I want to rest." And so I did, and it was glorious. Um, I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for this beautiful spring weather. Like I said, spring has sprung in Texas. I'm grateful for synchronicities and ideas and following my intuition, even if it doesn't make any sense, right? That's a big piece of this. Like, following your intuition is very scary and it doesn't make any sense. Following my intuition is what took me to California. Following my intuition is what, led to my breakup with my ex. Following my intuition is what brought me to this podcast. Following my intuition, like, you know what I mean? It's just, and you could say, like, oh, okay, you followed your intuition and like bad things happened. No, bad things did not happen. Uncomfortable things happened. And guess what? Those uncomfortable things have brought me so much peace and happiness. I can't be mad about that, right? The universe is neutral, my guy. Like, if I have to be the one to tell you the universe is neutral, we are the ones who make things good or bad, let it be me. Happy to do it, right? And once you start thinking in terms of that, like your life is going to change in many, many ways, in which I can't even explain or describe in one sitting. But, call me and let's talk. Yeah, those are the things I'm grateful for. So hopefully you can think of some things you're grateful for, whether they're small, large, big. I just used large and big, whatever. It's fine, details. Just because gratitude is a practice that is incredibly important. It can turn, like I said, like the most uncomfortable, quote unquote, shitty experiences into these like beautiful, life altering, in a good way, experiences that change you for the better. And I do that on the macro and the micro every single day. And is it exhausting? Sometimes, yeah. But is it something that is radically transformed my life? Absolutely. Yeah. And I will be an advocate for it till the day I die. So there's that. Life updates. I moved back to Texas. Surprise, 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 surprise. I'm very happy. You guys, as soon as I crossed over state lines, and I shit you not, I might actually share this video with you on uh Instagram, but when I crossed over state lines, the whole trip I had been thinking about just everything. I've been thinking about my ex. I was thinking about the job. I was thinking about my, the all the things that happened to me while I was in California. And then as I was thinking about, sometimes some of the things made me sad, some of the things made me happy. And as soon as I crossed over state lines, I swear to you, I read the like, now leaving New Mexico, land of enchantment, and welcome to Texas, like the two signs back to back. This wave of energy just like took over my body, and I started like crying. Like my eyes started leaking, and then I let out this loud, like, like sound. I know I'm so sorry if that was loud and like hurt your ears, but I screamed and I like wooed in my car so loud and I was crying and my body just started like convulsing. I was just like, because I was so happy. So much joy overtook my body. And it just came out of nowhere, like nowhere. And it felt like I like physically like went through a portal and like jumped into a new timeline of life. I mean, I did. I mean, I literally crossed a border, but it felt like something so much more than that, and I can't even explain to you what that means. and it made me feel crazy. And again, I documented it on a video because I felt insane. Maybe I'll share that tomorrow because, you know, it was fascinating. But um, that's the energy that I've been on a high from. Like that energy of that wave in the car has been what I've been feeling for the last 3 days. Um, and it felt kind of manic, but like in a good way, right? And like this, it was like this boost I needed to like get me through whatever this next chapter is about to be because it's so uncertain and I have no idea what's about to happen. I have some leads for jobs, but I didn't when I put my resignation letter in last week. No leads, no interviews, no nothing. And then the day I put my resignation letter in, I had 3 interviews. Or I had 2, and then another one like came, it was an email that came in like a day later. Isn't that wild? So yeah, I'm looking for jobs. I've got a couple interviews I'm excited about. I'm slowly adjusting to back to life here. Obviously lots of unpacking. Today I went through my closet. I went through my closet before I left and I got rid of so much shit. I consolidated 3 closets into one. And then today I got 3 trash bags full of stuff that I'm getting rid of. So whether it's recycling my clothes or donating them, I do ThredUp. Shout out ThredUp. If you want to sponsor me, that'd be dope. I've been a ThredUp girly for like at least 6 months now, or before I moved. So I'm just like purging. I'm purging all my stuff. I'm like readjusting and reorganizing some stuff. I've got this new ring light. I'm doing my, my little videos for the podcast, implementing stuff that I'd been thinking about and working on before I even got home. And I'm in the midst of building out all the things I've been dreaming up. Like, guys, like I'm building out this website. I'm building out my services. And at first I was like, I need to get this thing done as fast as humanly possible. And then I thought to myself, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't operate like that. Like I am slow and steady tortoise, you know, like win the race at my own pace kind of girly. Like I do not rush. I used to be a girl who rushed. I don't rush anymore. Like you can hear my energy like, "Oh yeah, I need a job." Like if I get one, cool. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I need a job. And no, my parents are not supporting me. I just have an emergency fund of money, right? All my ladies out there, happy Women's History Month. Save your money. Build yourself an emergency fund. Okay. One of these days I'm going to bring on a financial expert to talk to you about how important it is to have your own money, your own fuck it money. Okay. That was a big part of my fuck it energy was having fuck it money. It gives you options. It gives you things. It gives you a way to be able to get out of situations you don't want to be in, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. So, even though I'm coming across as lackadaisical, right? It's just a thing of like, I know something will come because I'm talented and I've put in for a ton of jobs. I'm not just sitting around waiting for like a miracle. Like, I'm putting in the work and then waiting for a miracle, right? But yeah, I'm building out all the things for Perfection Unfolding. Like, so many ideas are coming to my mind in terms of dance and movement, in terms of one-on-one coaching, in terms of just resources for you guys, things that have helped, books that have helped, linking all that out. It's a lot of stuff and I'm doing it all by myself. So, because I have the skills, but I don't have all the skills all at once quickly, right? I have all the skills and it's going to take some time and I want it to be good and I want it to be helpful. I want everything I do to be helpful in some form or fashion. Another life update, I've realized my purpose in life is to show people what it looks like to love yourself and have the courage to unapologetically build a life you actually like. One that lights your soul on fire, where you don't settle for anything less. And that's what I think I'm doing here. This is episode 17, so if you've been rocking with me, you've been listening to all my stuff. Okay, my digital diary aspect of this, which is always like the first part of the show. And if you didn't know that, I'm sorry. This is just kind of how it goes. I'm just chit chatting. We're just catching up here as old friends. And if you have been here and you do like that, like I'm so glad. I'm so glad to make your acquaintance digitally. It might be parasocial right now, but maybe in the future, we'll have a group or something and we'll do something together. We'll make something happen in real life. But yeah, I realized that that's the whole point of this is the digital diary aspect of this is like me embodying what it looks like to actually love yourself and to actually show up for yourself, for your dreams, for your desires, for the things that are in the depths of your soul that, like, maybe you haven't given yourself permission to think are important. Maybe you haven't given yourself permission to bolster them and to put some energy behind them because you think, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I'm ugly, or I don't know what it is, but like these are all things I used to think about myself. I used to loathe myself and I didn't even know it. I just thought that, thinking I was untalented and not good enough was like normal and regular. It might be an experience that occurs quite often, especially among women. Love women, shout out women. Um, but that's just because we live in a society that tells us that, like, that they don't just believe in us delusionally, right? They believe, like, right now, unfortunately, under patriarchy, men are, kind of elevated and led to believe that they can do anything they want, and and society backs them up and lets them be delusional, and that's why they have so much success. They have this delusional, like, mindset. And you know what? A lot of men are super talented, and a lot of women are super talented. I'm not making this a thing about gender, right? I'm not a man hater. I freaking love men, okay? But my whole point is that, like, I used to be a person who didn't like myself, and I used to be a person who didn't believe in myself, and I used to be a person who didn't who used to just be like, "Oh, my desires are like whatever." It's like they're there. Mm. But like I should push them down as far as I can so that I can make room for the other things I'm supposed to do, you know? And I'm not a person who subscribes to any of that. I think all that is a bunch of bullshit, but things that I need that not that I needed to go through, but my whole journey has been about undoing that. It's been like proving to myself time and time again that, like, I'm worthy and that I'm worth more and that I can do whatever the fuck I want. I mean, to like honestly, the things that I believe about the world and the universe and my experience as a human on Earth, I used to think that it was like life is meaningless and blah blah blah. I don't know if you've ever gone through that phase, but I did go through that phase for like half a second, and then I was like, no, it's not. Life is meant to be lived. Life is about relationships. Life is about being in flow. Life is about creating, bro. Creating. What is life itself? Life itself is creation, right? And as a woman, I'm not saying that your whole purpose is here to make babies, but your purpose is here to create. I'll tell you that much. Because life force lives in your womb, bro, whether there's a baby or not. You have the portal to bring shit into the world. And man, I love you, but you don't have portals. Okay. You don't have creation portals. And the fact that we have the option if we want to bring life into the world or not, like that's a power that even me, I'm childless. I don't even understand how much power that could be. But like my mom does, you know? Um, but the whole point is that I know that I'm here to like be the embodiment, to showcase what the fuck that looks like. And I was having a conversation with my mom recently, and I kind of was bringing me to tears because I was like, I think what I'm doing is so scary to me. Like what the vision I have for myself is so scary. I'm not even doing it yet. I'm not even I haven't even scratched the surface of the shit that I think that I'm capable of. And again, call me delusional, but whatever, might as well try. And I was talking to my mom and I was like, I think it's so scary because I don't have any examples of what it looks like in my immediate vicinity. Like, I love my family and they've accomplished so much, but a lot of them have dreams way bigger than the things that they accomplished. Like, I love my mom. I know you're listening to this, mom. She's my number one fan. She's been commenting on all my episodes on Spotify, which you should do if you feel called to. But my mom is brilliant. She's so talented. But she's always had this belief, this like story about herself that she just wasn't good enough, wasn't talented enough, didn't have enough discipline, didn't know how to work hard, like to make her dreams happen, to think that she was even worthy of a dream bigger than the things that she was already doing. And she did a lot of cool shit, right? She was in a band, right? She traveled around for 9 years. She won awards, she was like of the age in the 80s where live bands played in clubs, and they weren't just like a trashy band. They were like the best 80s top 40 band and traveled around Florida and just the South in general. And, played the keyboard and sang vocals and was just hot. right? Generally. Um, and she's like, yeah, that was cool. I'm really proud of that, but I could have never led a band. I would have, and I'm like, Mom, you almost had me. Like, I'm sitting here just like on the edge of my seat, just like, yes, yes, you're so special and wonderful. And I've always thought these things about you. And then she hits me with something like that. And I'm like, why don't you think you're the most special and wonderful person? Why don't you think you're capable? And then it's like someone like my grandma recently with the conversation I had with her. And this is, I'm being specific with the women in my family because I'm a woman and they're the people I look up to the most on how to be a woman. And again, my grandma having a conversation and she was telling me, yeah, when I was in high school, I think I really wanted to be an actor. I think I would have been really good at that. And I wrote all these letters to all these actors and asked them for their picture and their autograph, and they always sent them to me, and I have a whole folder full of them. She's like, but instead, because my parents told me, college was the answer, instead of going to college, I just went to go work for Prudential for 35 years and retired. And there's nothing wrong with working in insurance, but she had a dream. She had a dream to be an actor. And even though if that sounds delusional, it was worth pursuing, bro. Insurance isn't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be there whether your dreams come true or they fail. So that's like my grandma. And then it's, like my aunt was a dancer and she ended up probably getting an injury or something. I think. And she ended up joining the military. An honorable act, an honorable job, something she's incredibly proud of, something that I've bragged about since my childhood. Like, yeah, my aunt was a Marine. She's a badass. But had this dream to be an artist, right? Even my dad, a career military man, had this ping when he was in high school when he did a play. He's like, I did the musical my senior year and that was a lot of fun. I probably would have really liked doing that. But instead he joined the Navy at 17 and then was in the Navy and then got out and then did a whole bunch of odd jobs, then joined the Army and got out. Now he works for the government. You know what I mean? So it's like all these people who had a dream, who had this like desire deep within their gut that they didn't get a chance to really let it breathe. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to fuck around and find out. I'm here to see what happens when I give my dreams some breath, when I breathe life into it. And it's bringing me, and I'm gonna cry because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. All I know is that I want to help people, and I want people to be happy, and I want people to love themselves, and I want them to accept themselves, and I want them to have the confidence to do whatever they want, whatever that is. There's no right or wrong answer. There is just your truth. And it's whether or not you have the courage to live in your truth or not. And what's true for me is that I'm a dancer. I've always been a dancer. I've been a mover. I've been obnoxious. I've been a performer my whole entire life. I had that thing that my grandma had, that my dad had, and my mom had. Oh, I'm gonna cry. But then when I was a teenager, I gave it up. I just thought, that's for other people. That's not for me. I got discouraged, you know? And even when I was in college, like I still danced, but I gained a bunch of weight and I got depressed and dance wasn't giving what it used to give because I wasn't giving what I used to give. I just kind of let the world beat me down and time passed and it just kept passing and kept passing. And I went on this whole journey. I'm still on a journey. And now I'm 28, right? And I'm like, am I going to dance for Beyonce? I don't know. Probably not at this point in my life, but I'm open to it. Like, I'm going to keep dancing and I'm going to stretch my skills as far as they're going. I'm going to keep showing up to this podcast and I'm going to keep showing up for the people who want to move and shake with me, who want to listen and who want to learn and who want to develop and who want more for themselves, right? Like, it's living in the balance of being content with what you have while still holding on to the desire of what you want, right? And where you want to go. And that's why I'm fucking here, bro. I've been trying to overcomplicate it this whole time. For what? I've already been doing it. I've already been doing it. Just showing up as myself, being myself, expressing myself, going on these long rants about the things I've learned. This is it. This is it. And it's my job to just figure out how to organize it and to be able to share it more effectively. Yeah. Y'all like that? You like that little rant? It's off the dome. It's off the cuff. So that's what I'm here to do. And that leads me into what today's topic is 35 minutes into the show. We're talking about self-love and radical self-acceptance. Letting these things unfold, right? Because guess what? These are the two things that have changed my life. These are the two things that are the most foundational to what I think it could be like a self-awakening journey, or just a journey of like, it starts with you, right? Like you can't control anything else. The only thing you can control, the only thing that you can really have any influence over, you can actually really make change and make a difference with, is yourself. You can obviously, try to make change in other people's lives by sharing information, but ultimately being yourself is the key to that. And how can you be yourself if you hate yourself, right? And I'm going to use the word hate here. I'm going to interchange the words self-loathing and self-hating, because I think hating has a bite to it that kind of makes us it kind of makes us nervous. Like, oh my God, I hate myself. It's like, but it's true. Like, if you don't like yourself and you don't take care of yourself and you don't believe in yourself, and like sometimes that can compound on each other, and that turns into self-hatred, and it makes you self-sabotage, and it makes you not like what you see in the mirror, and it makes you dissociate from your life. All things that I used to do, all things that I do. So I mean, every once in a while, I don't hate myself now, but like I used to, bro, I did not like myself when I was younger, or when I was in college, like, and I would attribute a lot of that to just like not taking care of myself, right? But so, okay, so like, what does self-love? So I wrote some, and most weeks I kind of like type out a message for you guys, but this week I decided to like just write out some questions that I'm going to answer, so that there's a little bit of a through line, and just a way to keep me on track, because y'all know I'll be going off track. And I want to make sure I answer all the questions that you might have, right? The questions that, right. So first things first, we're going to start with radical acceptance, okay? What is radical acceptance? Right out the gate, radical acceptance to me is accepting reality for what it is. Radical self-acceptance is accepting yourself exactly the way you are. What does it look like to radically accept yourself? What it looks like to radically accept yourself is this, okay? This is where I started. If I could go back to square one, right? Before we talk about self-love, before we talk about anything else, acceptance is the key, right? Accepting where you are, accepting who you are, accepting the way you look, accepting how you show up, accepting the words you speak, accepting the thoughts you have, right? It's just taking an assessment of what is. This is what, like, radical self-acceptance is taking an assessment of what is, whether you like it or not, whether it's pretty or ugly or not. It doesn't matter. It's kind of a meditative practice, because meditation is the practice of being the observer of your thoughts, right? Without judgment. That's kind of like, that's how meditation works, right? It gives you a chance to separate yourself from your thoughts, to where you can just observe them. And radical self-acceptance is this practice. It's taking a beat, separating, like, kind of looking at yourself overhead, right? Or just from like a bird's eye view, and taking stock of everything that you are, right? Take stock of the things that you like. Take stocks of the things that you hate. Take stock of the ways that you show up that you were like, ew, that's distasteful and ugly, or that's cringy, or that's gross, or I don't like the way I chew my food, or my feet are too big, my face is too ugly, my nose is too crooked, whatever it is. Take stock. Whether you want to write it down or not, just take stock. Sometimes, like, what I would do is I would just look in the mirror, and I would just, I would just grab my belly fat, and I would be disgusted, because, and you know what? This is not about fat shaming. This is just about your experience with your body. If you hate your body, that's your truth. Whatever's true for you is true for you. There's no point in denying it, because if you deny that that's true for you, then you can't move forward in acceptance. If you are lying to yourself about how you feel about anything about yourself, you cannot accept it. So the most important piece of this, it's like, what does it look like to radically self-accept? It's to accept your truth, okay? Accept your motherfucking truth, no matter what it looks like. For me, this looked like I said, grabbing my belly fat in the mirror and being disgusted by it, like looking at the rolls on my back. Like, my body was a big trigger for me. And if body is a big trigger for you, I'm sorry, I've been there. I totally get it, I don't really do trigger warnings here because there's no trigger warnings in life, right? This is just the truth. The truth is not scary. The truth is just the truth. And once you are aware of the truth, then you can do something about it, right? And so for me, this looked like I was, I hated that I like always laid around. I hated that I was lazy, quote unquote. I thought I was a lazy person. I hated that I wasn't disciplined. I hated that um, even though I wanted to lose weight, I kept eating. Food was a big thing for me. A big thing I used to comfort. I overate a lot. And I talked about this in a couple episodes at the beginning of the show when I started the podcast, but binge eating, right? Binge watching TV. I just binged everything. I binged sugar. I would binge so much till it made me sick. But I wasn't bulimic, so I wouldn't throw it up. I would just be sick with food. Or I would wait till I watched so much TV that I wouldn't sleep, and then I'd be nauseous the next day because I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching a show that I can't even remember now, right? And I took stock of all these gross things that I did, and they were gross to me because I knew that they weren't good for me, and it pissed me off that I kept doing them. That's what I hated about the experience. I took stock of, you know, a lot of the good things didn't come up. I just kind of took stock of all the things I didn't like because those are the things that were the most apparent, right? And when you don't like yourself, you tend to focus on things that um, you don't like, right? It's like it's really hard to see the good when you don't see yourself as a person who um, is like worth good things, right? Because I internalized my behavior as like my personhood, right? So that's what radical self-acceptance looks like. It's like you take stock and you just accept it for what it is. You're like, I am overweight. I am eating shitty food. I am well, maybe not I am, but like it's true that, right? Maybe that's a better thing because you don't want to it's true that I'm overweight. It's true that I don't like the way I show up in my classes. I'm using college for example because this is the time where I felt this most. It's true that I don't like how I'm showing up in my classes. It's true that I don't like that I'm not going to the gym the way I said I would. It's true that I'm not doing what I said I would do. It's true that I'm not treating myself in a way that's respectful. It's true that, it just all these things. And I just accepted it for what it is. And it made it less scary. You know what I mean? Like the acceptance made it less scary because it's like, oh, like I've been avoiding this truth and now that it's out in the open, like, okay, weird. Um, does that make sense? And maybe for you that looks totally different. Maybe your things, um, the things that you hate yourself for, quote unquote, are you don't like that you keep choosing toxic men. You don't like that you keep choosing to put yourself in situations that make you uncomfortable. You don't like that you're a people pleaser. Oh my God, that was a big one for me. I hated that I was a people pleaser. And I hated that even though I was people pleasing, I still wasn't getting what I wanted from the people, like, men, for instance, or friends or whatever. Like, I still felt like an outsider. I felt so alone. And also, I didn't like that. I thought everybody hated me. um, I did believe that. I did believe that everybody hated me because it's like, I hated me. Right. Um, so that's kind of that's what it looks like to accept yourself. It's not this whole like all love and light, like, oh my God, I am amazing and I accept myself for everything I am. It's not that energy. It's an energy that can be very practical and very grounded. You can be love and light. Please, I invite you. Now, for me, Perfection unfolding literally is like, it's like this love and light kind of like, no, I'm perfect. Like, but I only got here when I started living in integrity, which you can't do if you're not honest with yourself, right? Getting honest with yourself is step number 1. It's ground zero. And it's accepting that like you are all these things, and some of these things you don't like because at your core, on your inside, and your deepest part of your gut, they don't align with who you actually are. They're just these unhelpful behaviors that probably stemmed from childhood, ways you dealt with, hurtful or unhelpful situations that maybe came from your parents, or relationships when you were younger, or friendships, or whatever. They're coping mechanisms, right? At least for me, they were coping mechanisms that no longer, they don't serve me. They didn't serve me then, they don't serve me now, but now I'm an adult and I have an awareness. And once I have the awareness and I accept that this is true, then I can move forward with action. The action's not easy, but it is possible. That leads me into like, how does radical acceptance help, and how can it be developed, right? How it helps is if you've never been honest with yourself in any real way, if you've never taken a step back and looked at your life from a bird's eye view, if you've never done this, if you've never taken stock of what's true for you, and you've just been living in a dissociative state, what radical self-acceptance does is it empowers you to be able to make change. That's what self-development is. It's becoming aware so that you can make change. You can't make change if you're never aware. So that's how radical self-acceptance helps. It's an awareness, it's an acceptance, and where there's acceptance, you can make change, and where there's change, you can have new awareness and accept new things, and make it's just this cycle that keeps going and going and going. That's what they call it, an awakening, because when you wake up to all the things that are true, all the things that you maybe weren't cognizant of that you were doing or consciously doing, you were unconsciously doing, then you're like, holy shit, like, where the hell have I been? This is not who I am. This is not aligned with my soul's purpose. This is not aligned with what I actually like, or love or whatever. Like, what am I doing? At least that's what happened. That's what happened for me. And then how can it be developed? It just comes with practice, right? Every time you feel resistance to something, or every time you feel like you're judging something, especially about yourself, like, that's an opportunity for you to be like, whoa, let me step back. This is happening, but this is temporary. Everything is temporary. And I think that's also a big piece of this when it comes to self-development, when it comes to like getting to a place that you don't like into a place that you do like, is that everything is temporary and everything is a choice, right? That's where the empowerment comes into play, that you can choose anything. You can choose whatever you want. And not choosing is still a choice, right? Dissociating, still a choice. Life is still happening, whether you are an active participant or not, right? So that's a big piece of it, is knowing that everything's temporary. Like that was so helpful for me in my body dysmorphia journey. I 100% had body dysmorphia, but what's funny is that I like to say that I had body dysmorphia in reverse, like inversely, because I always thought I was way thinner than I was. Still body dysmorphia, but really, really, like, it's probably the more helpful version of body dysmorphia for living every day, but like really unhelpful when you see pictures of yourself. Like, and a lot of women might relate to that, but like I really thought I was like doing something, and then I'd see a picture and be like, I'm a disgusting cow. Gross. Not helpful language, not language I use anymore, but language I used back then. Another piece of this is like using language that isn't judgmental and isn't nasty, right? What I was going to say earlier is like a big practice for me that helped me with my body, specifically with my face, right? I used to wear makeup every single day when I was in high school. Back when my skin was actually good. Like, I have more acne now as an adult than I did in high school. That's probably for reasons having to do with my gut that I'm trying to work through, but I wore makeup every day. I wore red lipstick, and I wore makeup, like face foundation and a winged eyeliner and red lipstick almost every single day. Like a full beat. And it was a form of self-expression, but it was also like I didn't not wear makeup because I felt like I was ugly without it. right? Like, that's not fun. That's not a fun way to wear makeup. Again, I think a lot of women can relate to this. And a big thing for me that helped me specifically with my face was like, it's my face. My face is my face. What good is it, or how unhelpful is it for me to hate my face? It's my face, right? And my face without makeup is still my face. And that might not make sense to you right now, but I swear to you, if you start thinking like in terms of like, my face is my mother's face, my face is my grandmother's face, my face is my ancestors' face, and my face comes from like hundreds and thousands of years of people loving each other. You know, whether it was like a good lay and it just kind of made a baby or not, that's not my problem. Okay. There was enough love to make this face. And and I came to a point, I think in college, or maybe even after I graduated college, so like years past high school, like 5 years after having this realization of it's my face and really practicing and 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 challenging myself to not wear makeup, that I really started, like, the less I wore makeup, the more I liked my face. The more I looked at my bare face, the more I liked it, right? And I'm a person, these eyebrows are drawn on, right? But I have no problem going without makeup. Do I like makeup? Yes. Do I wear makeup? Yes, I do. And I love makeup. I love putting on a brow and a winged eyeliner and a red lip and some blush and going out and like being that girl. But I don't do it because I'm insecure. I'll go to the club with no makeup on. I don't give a fuck, you know? But that's how I am now. And it took, you know, me years of practice of just being like, it's my face, and just letting that part go, just letting it go. Because I'm like, however you perceive me is none of my business. It's how I perceive me. And you might be a person who likes the way you look in makeup, and that's beautiful. And you please love makeup, wear makeup. But I challenge you to also like, I challenge you to like and even love the way your face looks without it. You know, like challenge yourself, right? That's something that helped me. And then I just moved that same philosophy to my body. This is my body right now. This is the way my body looks right now. Do I like it? No. Is it temporary? Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I just would accept my body where it was at and then work towards where I want it to be. And that took me a lot longer. Because you know, fitness and health and stuff, that is a bio individual experience. Everybody needs different things, and different things work for different people. And for me, whether I was working out or not, like that mantra of like everything's temporary, like this is what I look like right now. Okay, I accept that. I'm not gonna look like this forever. You know, that kind of gave me peace. And some of you might think like, oh my God, like your body's perfect and beautiful, and like like you were so cute even when you were, you know, at any size. Thank you. I love that. But what was true for me is that I didn't feel healthy in my body. And my ultimate goal eventually turned into like, it moved from being skinny to like just thin for no reason to being healthy. And I knew that I was not healthy in my body because my body wasn't a body that could dance very well, because I would run out of breath and I couldn't move the way I wanted to move. And to me, if my body, knowing myself, isn't one that can dance, then that's not a body that I want to be in for very long. Right? So like that, you know what I mean? So like we all have different goals and we all have these different desires. Um, do I think just wanting to be smaller for the sake of being smaller is a healthy goal? No. Do I think wanting to be healthy and then the symptom turns into becoming smaller is a better goal? Yeah, I do. That's coming from my health coach perspective. But again, it's a bio individual journey. We can't work through all of our trauma at once. Okay? Like, I don't know your trauma when it comes to body, you know, self-acceptance, and you don't know mine. But I think the most important thing is that to accept is to just be where you're at and just know that if you don't want to be there, it's not going to last forever. And that's the truth. Nothing does. Um, but once you know that, once you know where you're at and you know where you want to go, then you can start making empowered change. And that is the most important piece of this. Okay. That's self-acceptance. That's radical acceptance, right? It's like, and I put the radical in there because it's like, no matter what, you're like, this is what it is. I accept that this is the truth. It's not where I want to be. And I'm going to make moves towards where I want to be, right? Radical self-acceptance. Self-love. What is self-love? I think, at least in my personal experience, pardon me, I just burped a little bit. Oops. Self-love is a symptom. It's like, I didn't write out a specific definition for this. First and foremost, self-love only really works when it's unconditional, right? And it comes from this deep, deep, deep core, like life force energy ball inside of, I think, inside of you. Like it's your soul. And I think it's always there, whether we know it or not. I think self-love is what keeps us alive. Even when we're like when we're totally checked out of our conscious mind, when we're dissociating, I think self-love is that thing that is always pushing you to be better, to do better, to want more, to take care of yourself better. It's kind of like it's the thing that we confuse. It's kind of how do I say this? Self-loathing comes from self-love, right? And I spoke about this a little bit in like one of my first couple episodes. You only hate yourself because you know you're not meeting your own standard. And that standard comes from somewhere inside of you that like you can't really pinpoint, but it's just always been there. That's like the core of you. It's the inner you. It's the higher you. It's the spiritual you. It's your soul. Your soul's like, no, this is not for you. Stop doing this. Stop doing this. Stop overeating. Stop hating yourself. Stop. You know what I mean? Like you're so much more than this. You're blah blah. And that's why, because we're not meeting those standards, we start to hate ourselves and we start to like not like what we see in the mirror. But we don't realize that it's because we're not meeting our standard, right? We just think it's because it's who we are. We just don't like the cards we were given. You know, we live in a very unempowered state, kind of a victim mentality state, until we start doing the things that we know we're meant to do, and we start taking care of ourselves in the way that we said we would, and we start doing those things, and then you start building this reputation with yourself. And I think the more you accept yourself, the more change you make, the more you follow the path and direction that you know you're meant to be on. I think the self-love starts to reveal itself to you. It starts to unfold, right? It was never not there, but you just weren't aware of it. You weren't aligned with it, right? And maybe that makes sense and maybe that doesn't, but it makes sense to me. That's kind of how it worked for me, is that as I started doing what I said I was going to do, as I accepted myself for exactly who I was and lived in my reality and started showing up for myself in ways that felt good, in ways that like aligned with the person that I knew I wanted to be, I knew I was meant to be, and I'm still doing to this day. I'm still practicing every day. I'm trying to become that person that is like aligned with my highest version, right? Who could be anyone in any direction, but I'm just following my intuitive pings, right? The self-love has it's just been unfolding for me more and more and more and more, to now I'm at a place of unconditional love. The unconditional love has always been there, but now I recognize it and I feel it, and it's known and it's true, and it comes from, and it unfolds yourself when you start respecting yourself more, and you start holding boundaries, and you start speaking your truth and living in integrity. You start proving to yourself that you, at first, you're doing all these things and you're proving to yourself that you're worthy of being treated well. And you start believing that you're worthy of being treated well. And then you're just like, no, I am a person who is going to be treated well. If I'm the only person who does it, that's fine. But but I know my worth. I know my value. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of, it comes at first from just doing the things that you know are healthy for you, that are better choices, taking those next right steps, those next better, healthy steps for you that only you know. It's like that ping of like, oh, I really need to start drinking more water. But then you actually start drinking more water. And oh, I really need to get to sleep on time. But then you actually start sleeping on time. And you're like, oh well, I think I want some flowers, for Valentine's Day, but then you buy yourself the flowers. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that the self-love, you can't just wake up one morning. I mean, if you can, great, wonderful. But I'm not trying to tell you that you just wake up one morning, I love myself. And you just say those affirmations to yourself in the mirror until you believe them. I love myself so much. But it's so silly. Like, that's not going to work. Okay? Like, you need proof that you're lovable. And that might sound fucked up to say, but like, if you hate yourself, if you hate your body, if you hate the way you think, if you think you're stupid, if you think you're dumb, if you think you're untalented, you need to prove to yourself that those things are not true. You need evidence. Unfortunately, at first, because when we're first coming into this experience of radical self-acceptance and dabbling in the act of self-love, you need proof. And what's hilarious is that it doesn't matter what anybody else says. People can love you. People can be like, you are the best thing since sliced bread, and you are amazing, and I love you so much, and you light up rooms. Funny how that doesn't matter. It's funny how the only person whose opinion you really care about is your own. So it's up to you to do the things that would impress yourself. And that thing could be as small as waking up at the same time every day and doing a morning routine. And that morning routine could just be, I brushed my teeth. Because people who hate themselves usually depressed. It's really fucking hard to be depressed. Really fucking hard. But you know what's harder? Sorry, no, that wasn't the thing I wanted to say. I wanted to say, because my brain just did like a inverse loop-de-loop. I was gonna say, it's really fucking hard to take care of yourself. It's really hard. It's really hard to do the things that you say you're gonna do, to start the podcast, to brush the hair, to brush the teeth, to show up to work on time, to show up for yourself, to cook for yourself, to bathe yourself. I mean, sometimes when you're depressed, even showering is a fucking chore, right? It's really hard. But you know what's harder? Being depressed. What's harder is hating yourself and feeling like a shell of a person. That's hard. It's heavy and it's sticky and it's like, there's no worse feeling than feeling like if you died, nothing would change. That's really fucking hard. Is to really believe that. I'm a person who believes that. For a solid chunk of my life, I really believed that. It didn't matter how many people came up to me and were like, Karen, you're amazing. You're a light. You're a great dancer. You're so this, you're so that. It did not matter. It did not matter. Because the spark in me, I hadn't lit it. My pilot light was just hanging out. And thank God my pilot light never went out, because then I would be dead and then I wouldn't be here sharing with you. And even though I would never have followed through with it, just being in that space of wanting to die, that is what motivates me to be alive. And I'm getting emotional. I'm very grateful for that. Not grateful for depression, but I'm very grateful for like the contrast. Because I think that's why I live life so full out now. You know? And I was a person that if anything would have happened like that, everyone would have been like, oh my God, like how the hell? Like Cara was so happy. She's so happy. I'm happy now. I would be confused now if that were to happen, because I'd be like, yo, I'm fine. You know? But I just got one on a whole tangent. Like the contrast that experience gave me is why I've been so adamant of reverse engineering my life, of figuring out how to be here, figuring out how to love myself, figuring out how to do the things I said I was going to do, figuring out what my purpose is, figuring out how to be better at relationships. I've been just figuring it out for years. And I forgot what I was talking about, because that's I don't know. But essentially, I think my point was you have to prove to yourself that you're a person worth taking care of. You have to prove to yourself that you're a person worth loving. You have to become the person who loves yourself to prove to yourself that you are worth loving. Isn't that funny how that works? How does self-love change your life? Once you've built that reputation with yourself and you've started taking care of yourself, and I do think self-love is a big piece of it comes from taking care of your fucking self. Treating yourself, it's a mindset shift of like, I am like, it's, oh my God, my brain is going crazy. Can you tell I'm passionate? Are you still with me? A big piece of, at least my puzzle, and I can only really speak from my experience of developing self-love, came from living in my integrity, which looked like showing up for myself when I said I would. Not being great at it at first, honestly, but like just deciding that I was going to take care of myself whether I liked it or not. Like I kind of did it out of spite at first, to be honest with you. And even though I wasn't like, I love you so much. I love my body. I love this, even though, like doing those obnoxious like affirmations that I didn't believe at first, there was something in me that was like, fuck you, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? It's like having a conversation with me, myself, and I of like, I don't know what you've been doing, but this is not working for me anymore. And I would like have this knockdown drag out with myself in the mirror. Um, I'd just be like, bitch, like, this is not it. Like, and I would say like, I love you, but, and so maybe, maybe I did have that, like a foundational, um, kind of self-love, but she came to me in the form of a bully. She bullied me. And then I took care of myself out of spite. Or, well, she took care of me out of spite because she was like, no, no, what is this? Why have we not changed our sheets in a month and a half? That's disgusting, you dirty little whore. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that voice that now to me is like playful and like I work with her. Like, that was the beginning of it, was doing things out of spite. Like, I don't give a fuck if you don't want to do this. Like, we're not eating Nutella and French bread again. You've had diarrhea for a week. You weirdo. This is not healthy. Sitting in bed and watching Netflix and eating shit, it's not it. Being drunk all the time? Bitch. No wonder why you're so chunky. You're averaging 5 margaritas a week during the weekday, not even including the weekends. And these margaritas are the size of your head. So I kind of had this energy. I made it more playful. I made it less like, oh my God, today we're going to wake up and we're going to take care of ourselves and everything's going to be glorious. And then I would like fail and I would just, crash and burn. That's not how I approached it. I approached it with this like kind of playful, like bitchy energy. Like that's kind of more my vibe. I think life is hilarious and I tend to work better with humor. And I think most people would agree. And even though I had that energy, I was still very gentle with myself whenever I would mess up. Now, again, those first couple years, I fucked up a lot. I did not meet my own standard for a very long time, and even to this day, I only just now got to the point where I am disciplined enough to follow through on the things that I want to do pretty regularly. I'm like when I'm failing, I'm failing fast, so it's like it'll be like a little thing here and then I'll like recover. But back in the day, it was like, oh, I didn't go to the gym for the third day, even though I told myself I was going to work out every single day. And so then I would just give up and go back to binge eating and laying around. Like that happened over and 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 over again. So a big key to this is practice. You have to practice, but you have to keep the vision in your mind. You have to keep the I'm sick of being this way at the forefront of your mind. Because if you're not sick of it, no change is happening. Like you have to be so sick of your shit, so sick of hating yourself that you are loving yourself out of spite. Like at least this was the way for me. Like I just got so pissed off that I was living this life that I found totally disgusting and like had this body that I found totally disgusting. I was like, no wonder I'm not having sex. I don't want to fuck myself. And I didn't for a long time. I do now. Turn up. How? um, so yeah, you got to build that reputation with yourself. You have to practice and practice and practice and prove to yourself that you're worthy. And I think the self-love, it eventually just comes to you. It unfolds in front of you, and then you're just like, because then you put so much work in, right? Think about all, like, when you work on a project and you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and you're just like, I fucking did that project. You know what I mean? And, whether no matter the grade you get, like, whether it's an A, B, or C, whatever, you don't care because you're like, I put my whole pussy into that. Bitch. That's kind of the energy that I kind of brought to self-love. That's kind of how I came to my self-love, is because I worked so hard, on the food I was feeding myself and the exercise I was giving my body, and again, not being perfect at it, but like even not being perfect at it took a lot out of me. It took a lot of energy. It took a lot of mental space. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of patience, a lot of practice. And like at some point I was like, bitch, you did that. I started losing a little bit of weight. I went vegan for like 5 years, which totally changed the way I eat food. I'm not vegan anymore, plot twist. But it changed the way I showed up. It taught me how to cook. I bought cookbooks. I listened to podcasts about relationships. I read books. I still read books. I still listen to podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, I just keep showing up and keep doing the thing every single fucking day. It used to be like once a week, and then it was like 2 days a week, and then it went to like 3 days. It wasn't exactly like that precise. But like that, I just kind of slowly started compounding and adding and adding and adding until eventually I was like, I'm that motherfucking bitch. I take care of me. And if I take care of me this well, everybody else around me has to take care of me this well too, or I'm not doing it, And that's why I just fucking love myself now, because I'm like, bitch, like, you care. I love you. We are that bitch. And I talk to myself like I'm 3 people now, because it takes a village. And that village is all within my brain. So anyway, that's that rant. I have other questions on here. Why is self-love important? If you haven't picked it up by now, like, once you have this foundation of self-love, bro, I just don't think you guys understand how much of a cheat code self-love is. Once you fucking love yourself, you can love everything. Because think about this. When you hate yourself, what else do you hate? Most things. You hate most things. You hate the way the way you show up for your hobbies, your creativity. You probably don't like a lot of your friends, or you have a lot of friends who aren't good for you. And by good, I mean who aren't helpful. You're probably you're not really caring a lot about the things you're doing. You're kind of just floating around, and you're not being very intentional, and you just kind of end up in things. You kind of just like, oh, that was kind of neat, or I didn't like that very much. Or maybe you're actively in a position where you're like, I don't like this. Like, maybe you're in a relationship, right? With somebody who also doesn't like you. Bro, been there. What the fuck? How does that happen? So when you hate yourself, like, there's just a lot of things that you're willing to put up with. There's a lot of things that you're like, oh, well, I feel like dying anyway. Fuck it. Like, you're more risky. You're more like risky in an unhelpful way. Excuse me. I got like a stuffy nose. Blah. I think you can kind of just think to yourself, like, when I hated myself, like, did I like my life? I don't know. There are some highly successful people who have done some really cool shit who hate themselves, and like all the things that they've accomplished still don't matter. Isn't that interesting? Again, like I said before, all the accolades, all the praise doesn't matter because you don't like you. So why would you care if anybody else liked you? And the worst part is that when you don't like you, sometimes all you're chasing is the validation of others. And it's still not enough. So the opposite of that, when you love yourself, bitch, no one can tell you shit. Okay, that's step number 1. No one can tell you shit. Like, when you start loving yourself, you start expressing yourself a lot more. in the way that you dress, in the way that you speak. You stop lying, right? Because a big thing for example, a big thing for me, I was a people pleaser, right? I did seek validation from others. I needed everyone to like me because I needed them to validate and to prove me wrong. I needed them to prove to me that I was a likable, lovable person and that I was good enough and that I was smart. And anytime they didn't give that to me, I would have a mental breakdown. Yeah, I would be like, "Oh my God, like, they do think that I'm stupid. They do think I'm untalented, and, like, they're validating all of my worst fears about myself." You know what I mean? Like, and I just was not a full person. I was a shell of a person. It was like I was made out of straw. Like, you could just just blow down my house because even in my creativity, like I said before in a couple episodes ago, like I performed. I performed for my validation. I performed for like my creativity was all performance. It was all for making money. It was all for everyone else and not for me. Um, Partially because I was a kid and I didn't understand, but I learned very quickly as a child that if I performed, I would get validation and attention and love and affection. And I was right. But what I didn't know was that I wouldn't matter, you know? Um, so how it changes your life is like, oh, I know what I was saying. I forgot what I was saying. I'm sweating because I turned my air off. And so, oh my God, I'm wearing a sweatshirt because I made it. A walking paradox. And it doesn't even matter. But what I was going to say was I was a people pleaser before. And so, like, as long as other people were loving me, like, I would keep doing what I was doing. And a lot of things that I was doing to please everybody, including people who I probably wouldn't have liked if I loved myself. Oh my God, I keep losing my train of thought. I'm being so annoying. What the hell? In a loving way, right? um, oh my God, Jesus Christ, I had a whole point. I missed it like 2 times. My point was I used to be a people pleaser. And the thing about people pleasing is that I've learned is that it's kind of a form of manipulation because I had to change the way that I was in order to receive love and affection from other people. And I wanted to receive love and affection from other people because that's how I got my validation and my affection. But the thing is that I had to lie to myself and lie to others to get them to like me, which makes like my view of myself like conditional, you know? And I had a better point, but now I'm just over the whole thing. But but my whole point is that when you love yourself, it affects how you make better relationships. You start choosing jobs where you're respected. You start surrounding yourself with other people who love you instead of other people who don't like you. You start matching energies with people who actually enjoy who you are. You start speaking your truth because, again, this is the point I was trying to make with people pleasing. You're not afraid of being unliked. You don't need to people please because you only want to attract people who like you for who you are, not for who you aren't. Imagine you lived in a world like that where you just spoke unapologetically your truth. Oh my, I just got here. I've only been here in this reality where I'm living in integrity with my truth, with my words. It's been like 3 years. Like, that's it. I'm 28. 25 years of my life I spent, at least in some form or fashion, lying to myself or lying to others in some way, shape, or form to get them to like me. And even though, and with the truth telling, right, with speaking my truth, I've been unapologetically myself much longer, but I've been a bit of a people pleaser and a bit of a codependent in romantic relationships. That's what took me the longest. Up until this last relationship last year, the end of last year, I realized in hindsight that I still had some codependent kind of like people pleasery-esque things happening. Like I would only and like part of me thinks that I did those things as a way of being kind, of like, speaking my truth in a more kind way. And other parts of me, I was like, I feel like I was just doing that so that I wouldn't lose love. But either way, it doesn't matter because I was still, even in my last relationship, it was difficult, but it was the first time that I really practiced speaking my truth, my whole truth, without fear, with a romantic partner. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very fucking proud of that. There was not a single thing that I did not say that I wanted to say. And I said them in a time that was like, I said them in a timely manner that where I didn't wait months or mull over like, oh my God, like what is he gonna think of me? And what if this ruins our relationship? It's like, if it's going to be ruined, it's not going to be because you spoke the truth. It's going to be ruined if you don't speak the truth. And what's worse, you're in a relationship, like your partner's in a relationship with somebody they don't even know. No, I'm not doing that. So that's how your life changed. Your life changes when you love yourself in the best possible way. Like nothing unhelpful in terms of the grand scheme of your life can happen when you speak your truth. Now, they can put you in uncomfortable situations, but those uncomfortable situations usually are brought to your attention because it is probably a misalignment. Like, and mind you, speaking your truth, loving yourself, right? First of all, will trigger a lot of people. It will trigger all the people in your life who don't like themselves. If you are surrounded by people who don't like themselves because you didn't like yourself, like you met on a level where like you were both in that energy and you were both in that playing field. If you start to love yourself and you start to take care of yourself and respect yourself and level up and speak your truth, sometimes I'll tell you this much, and you're not going to like this, like those friendships are going to end. They're because sometimes your self-acceptance, your self-love is so triggering and painful for the people around you to witness that it makes them so jealous and so resentful that they're gonna pick fights with you, and you're just gonna have to come to the conclusion that like you don't like me anymore. You don't like this new version of me that I love, and so I'm gonna have to let you go, homie. And you can either accept that's the truth and move on and lick your wounds, or you can stay in those relationships and placate to them and make yourself small. And I feel like that's just not the best avenue, but it's your journey. You know what I mean? And and some of this stuff is really painful. Again, the acceptance, big piece of this puzzle. It helps along the way. Like this just is the truth. No one's at fault. I'm gonna be this way, you gonna go that way, and that's okay. And it's gonna be painful and there's gonna be heartbreak, but it's okay. So just know that is like a caveat. Like it's if everybody if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. You know what I mean? Like self-love is already hard enough to come to like on a personal journey. Once you start like integrating it into your life and sharing it with people, you're gonna see how many things pop off. Like you're gonna start attracting people who love you, and you're gonna start like detracting, I don't even know if that's a word, the people who don't. And sometimes the people you thought loved you are gonna turn into people, turns out no they don't. They just liked the misery, the company that you gave them in their misery. So that's how your life changes. Like it's all for the better. It's just hard to see that at first. It's like that hindsight's 2020 kind of thing. Will self-love actually help? And how can it be developed? I think I've made a case for how self-love actually helps. Some more examples look like, on like a holistic level, like it rocks your shit. Like it's the more you love yourself, and this is something that you'll probably see on Instagram with like the self-help relationship people. Something I said earlier is like when you love yourself, you can love everything else. And a big piece of like psychology, especially in romantic relationships, is that actually in any relationship, the people can only love you to the extent that they love themselves. And that's not to say that you don't deserve love when you don't love yourself, but it is to say that if you only love yourself this much, and I'm like putting my hands up for people who can't see, this much, like 50%, and then your partner, your romantic partner, or your friend, or anybody else that you know and love, loves you 100%, you're only going to be able to love them 50%, and then they're going to be begging you for that extra 50. They're going to be doing everything they can. Please, can you just love me 50 more percent? Like, I love you so much. And it just seems like you don't. And you're going to be stuck there like, I really want to love you that extra 50%, but I just don't know how. Like, I just can't. I don't have it in me. And it's not because you don't want to, but it's because you just can't. Because it's not there for you. Like, because when you hate yourself, you have a hard time believing that other people can love you more than you love yourself. You're like, because you're always looking for confirmation bias, right? Like me with my people pleasing, I was always looking for people to disagree with my self-loathing. Like, please tell me I'm smart, tell me I'm beautiful, tell me I'm these things. And when they wouldn't, then I'm like, oh my God, you do agree. You do think I'm stupid and ugly, you know? Because that was what I believed. And I would just, that confirmation bias, you know? And it's funny because I would always find men who didn't think I was ugly or untalented, but just didn't want to commit to me. So there's that. Or just didn't know how to love me the way I loved myself. At least at this point in my life. And that's kind of what happened with my last relationship, is that turns out he doesn't love himself very much. Respects himself, shows up for himself, takes care of himself, right? Did all the things to kind of prove to himself that he was worth taking care of, and does have a certain level of self-love. But when it came to going beyond that and loving himself unconditionally, like what happens if he doesn't do those things for himself? Does he still love himself? I don't think that he had that. I have that. Because something that I didn't get to originally, because my brain is going crazy, is that like once you start proving to yourself that you're someone who's worth loving and like taking care of yourself, there does come a point where it's like, bitch, I'm perfect. Like I am a person, and just being alive is enough. Being alive is just existing. I'm worth loving. It doesn't matter if I'm a fat piece of turds in my own, obviously. This is the language I'm using for me, not for anybody else. If I am a lazy sack of potatoes on the couch for the next 40 years, I still love myself because I am alive, because I'm here. And that's it, because I am just worthy, because I see children this way, because I see other people this way. They don't have to do anything for me. Right? Like having relationships is conditional, but my love isn't. Right? Like there's conditions to how you show up for me. Like if you start treating me badly, you're not going to have access to my love, but my love doesn't go anywhere. Right? And that's the kind of love that I started to give to myself. But that really kind of came with a kind of a more spiritual view of how I live my life. And honestly, conditional love might be step one for your self-love journey, because you do have to prove to yourself that you're worth the time, energy, and practice. And then after a while, at least for me, in my awareness, it was just like, no, bro, I'm just alive. Like I'm that bitch whether I do anything about it or not. You know what I mean? And that was something that I don't think that my ex had. And maybe he's working on it. I don't know. We don't talk, but sending him good vibes. And love. Lots of love. But that's like a perfect example. It's like my love for that person didn't go anywhere, but access to it did, because the reciprocity wasn't there. Like he couldn't or wouldn't or didn't want to give me that extra 50% that like I would give myself, right? And so without that reciprocity, like the access to my love has to subside, because it's not sustainable. I can't just keep giving him 100%, and him giving me 50. It just doesn't work like that. So yeah, self-love, how does it change your life? It changes everything. It changes who you date. It changes what jobs you pick. It changes how you dress. It changes how you look at yourself in the mirror. Oh my God. Imagine a world where you looked in the mirror and you were like, damn, you're so sexy. I can't believe that that's not other people's experience every day. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I do look like a frumpy mess, but then I think, did I water myself? Did I get good sleep? Did I feed myself good food? Or did I stay up till, 2 a.m. watching a show? Did I eat shitty food? It's like, I no longer internalize that I'm a piece of shit just because of the actions that I took. No, those actions are temporary. I can make new actions every single day. So that's how a self-love journey, it changes everything. It changes how you show up to each decision that you make. It changes how other people view you. Other people are going to see that self-love on you exuding from your pores and be like, oh my God, like they've got the juice. I want some of that, you know? Yeah, hopefully I'm getting the message across. How can self-love be developed? We talked about that. Self-love versus narcissism. So I actually went on the internet and like kind of looked up like what questions people ask about self-love. Like, when does self-love become toxic was actually a big question that a lot of people had. And some might think like, oh, okay, like the way you talk about yourself is like really off-putting. Like you really love yourself that much. Is that really true? Like, are you just self-obsessed? No. I mean, yes, I do really think these things about myself. I really do think that I am worth love, even if I turn into a blob. It's like that question, like when women ask men, like, would you love me if I was a worm? And the men are like, what? When really what we're asking is, would you love me if I couldn't do anything for you? If I couldn't be anything for you? If I was just existing, would you still love me? That's what that question is. Would you love me unconditionally? Do you love me unconditionally is what that question asks. And so ask yourself that question. If you turn into a worm and you couldn't pursue your dreams and you couldn't do any of the things that you wanted to do, would you still love yourself? And I can genuinely, honestly, earnestly answer that question with a big emboldened yes. Because the way that I view life, the way that I view my experience, the way I view myself is through eyes of gratitude, right? And maybe that's a big piece that I need to bring up too, is like your self-love journey can start by doing things for yourself, and also if it has to do with your body, it's like it's just gratitude for what you have, taking stock of what you have with the radical acceptance, and then implementing what you're grateful for. It's like, yeah, you can self-loathe, all you want and be like, I don't like this, I don't like that. But also you need to take stock of what you're grateful for, what you're actually good at, what you bring to the table, what you're proud of. I'm sorry, but you cannot live your whole life and not be impressed or excited about at least one thing. Like there's something about you. You could be like, well, I like the way that the way that I write my name in cursive. Maybe something so simple. But like that glimmer is like a glimmer of hope that you can multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply. Self-love versus narcissism, right? So and this is not a narcissistic practice, okay? Loving yourself, no, being self-centered and being self-serving is not the same as self-love, right? And you can serve yourself in terms of like taking care of yourself and putting your needs first. Like that is not narcissistic to do, okay? It is more helpful for you to take care of yourself first so that then your well is full and then you can share that well with anyone and everyone that you would like, to your heart's content. But if your well is bone dry because you're not taking care of yourself, now that's selfish. Because then you're not doing anyone any favors. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing, like, the people you love any favors. You know what I mean? Like, people, especially women. Oh, my God. Women, do we just think, like, oh, well, the kids are first. Oh, my husband's first. Oh, my family's first. No, bitch. It's you. You're first. If you can't show up for you, how can you trust yourself to show up for anybody else? If you can't show up for you, then you're not going to show up for anybody else in a way that's helpful. And then if you do use all your resources, if you do gas yourself out, doing everything for everybody else, you're just going to resent them because you feel like shit. And then you're going to resent them because they're not filling your cup the way you're filling their cup. But guess what? It's not anybody else's responsibility to fill your cup. It's yours. If anything, it's the most responsible thing you can do versus self-serving, So no, it is not a narcissistic practice. I do think that being self-obsessed is different than having a healthy amount of self-love. Being self-obsessed is like, it's all about you. Nobody else exists. You know what I mean? Like it's when I think of self-obsessed, I think like you're obsessed with how you present. You're obsessed with what you can do. Whereas self-love is just having a love for who you are as a person, regardless of what you can do, regardless of who you've been, of who you know, of anything in like the material world. Is just having love for your soul, for the core human, for the way you think, for the way you create, for the way you show up, like your perspective. Yeah. So, no, it's not. No, bruh. Don't come for me. Self-love is dope. It's self-love healing. What does it look like to love yourself? Yes, self-love is healing. Jesus Christ. I mean, one of the things that I told myself, one of the things that pisses me off that makes me really passionate about this subject, it's like the whole savior complex thing, right? Like as little girls, like I'm sure you've heard of the trope of like, the princess and waiting for someone to save her, right? And marry her and kiss her and make her life all better. Someone's going to come save her. Someone's going to give her unconditional love. Someone's going to give her true love and she's going to be saved. You know what makes me upset? Is the fact that none of us, well, I'm not saying none of us, a lot of the times, that someone is us. It's ourself. But what a lot of us do is we don't think of ourself as being someone who can save us. We don't think of ourselves as someone at all. A lot of the times, which is why a lot of us get frozen and stuck in the state of like a victim mentality of like, well, someone's gonna. I just wish someone could save me. It's just too hard. It's too difficult. Bitch, you are resilient. And you want to know how I know that? It's because you are someone. You are the someone worth saving. You're the someone who can save you. You are the someone who can make the change, who can accept who you are, who can love who you are, who can make new choices, who can take in new information, make new choices, and change your life. That is someone is you. You are someone worth saving. You are someone who can save you. And that by itself, just healing that, just that by itself, a more empowered life. A life where you can self-develop, a life where you have more awareness, a life where you take responsibility for your experience. That's where the true empowerment comes in, is when you take full fucking responsibility for your experience in the best way. It can be scary at first, but then it's like me a couple weeks ago, I was like, I could either have this like, oh my God, like it's all on me energy, or oh my God, like it's all on me. Holy shit, how exciting, That's how it can change your life. That's how it can heal you. Because once you have that thing, once you have the courage, the confidence to choose anything, you can fucking choose anything. And you're not going to be afraid of the choices you make because you're going to trust yourself. You're going to respect yourself. You're going to have confidence in your talents and skills and your intuition. You're going to love yourself and make choices that align with that love. Bro, what else can I tell you? What else can I fucking tell you? And what does it look like? What does it look like to love yourself? It just looks like living in integrity. And I've said this a bunch of times, just in this one episode. It looks like living in integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, and doing that over and 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 over. Little beatboxing over here. Until you die. That's self-love. It's accepting your reality. It's knowing your truth. It's living your truth. It's speaking your truth. And letting things come and go as they will. As they align. And doing all of that is sourced from having a self-love, acceptance, and respect for yourself. Yeah. 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 I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about that. So that's on radical self-acceptance and self-love, and letting the two unfold over time through patterns, through practice, through just through practice, my guy, through practice and through repetition and through learning and through pivoting and through accepting and through having patience. And also, I think a big piece too in doing this work, in practicing radical self-acceptance, radical self-love, is is doing your best not to be defeated every time you fail. Failure is going to be a part of it. You're going to fail at choosing people who are good for you. You're going to fail at doing the meal plan that you said you were going to do. You're going to fail at doing the workout. You're going to keep failing. But what you're not going to fail to do is keeping the vision. Keeping the vision of like I am going to take care of myself. I am going to respect myself. I'm going to love myself. And just keeping that to the forefront of your mind until it's true. You know? And I'm not saying affirmations don't help, but if you don't believe it, the affirmation doesn't work. The affirmations only work when you really believe it. And so with that, let's get in some affirmations. Okay? I am going to say these affirmations to myself. I believe these for myself, and if they work for you, if they resonate for you, take them, use them, let them be true for you. I'm gonna just make these up off the top of my head because I didn't write any out. Number 1, I can do hard things. I love doing things for my betterment. I love taking care of myself. I love doing things I say I'm going to do. I can do hard things. I'm grateful for the contrasts that life provides. I'm grateful for the opportunity to experience contrast when it leads me to the path I'm meant for. I can do hard things. I embrace discomfort and increase my capacity for it every day. I can do hard things. I love you. I take care of you. You are my why. You are my purpose. I will love you to the best of my ability and to continue my capacity for feeling it every day. I open myself to more abundance, to more love, and to more success every day. Thank you. I love you. And with that, that is our show. Oh my God. Holy shit. Thank you guys so much for listening, for joining me week after week. If you're new here, please like, share, subscribe, rate this podcast on Spotify, on Google, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Give it a 5-star review if you want to rate. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at perfectionunfoldingpod. You can follow the podcast on YouTube at perfectionunfolding with Cara G. Or you can follow me on Instagram on my personal page at Cara G Campbell. And if you want to write into the show, don't forget, I have an email. It's perfectionunfoldingpod@gmail.com. Please write into the show. Let me know if you liked this episode. Tell a woman you love that you love them. And when you compliment them, don't compliment them on their body, okay? Just tell them something wonderful, like, you're glowing. I love the way your aura just brightens up a room. Your smile brings me happiness. I love how you listen. Like, maybe not that one. or you make me feel seen. You make me feel heard. Like when you come into a room, I look forward to it. Something like that. Like, it's Women's History Month. I love women. I love men too, but I love women. And we try so hard, and I don't think we get recognized enough. And if this episode resonated with you, like, first off, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? Like, I know exactly what you've been through. I feel you. But know that it's not over. It's never over. There's always a new choice to be chosen. There's always new things to learn about yourself. There's always something. There's always juice to be squeezed out of our experience. And I know it's hard, and I know it can be uncomfortable, but like, it's not for nothing. It's for you. It's for you to learn. It's for you to experience. It's for you to grab a hold of and to, like, you know? And I love you so much, and I thank you so much for listening. That's all I got. I'll talk to you guys next week. Okay, bye.